What's up, guys? Quab back here again. This is my third video now. And like I said, just gonna be doing. I think this month I'm just gonna be focusing more on political stuff. Um, and then when I get back to campus in like 3 weeks, I'll probably be doing some more like lifestyle things, like my boys back in Michigan. But yeah, so today what I have for you guys is actually a story outside of the U.S. So what I'm going to be talking about is the current situation in Mexico. So I don't know if many of you have heard, but in Mexico, um, there's currently a very horrific situation with femicide. So femicide is pretty much, as described in the dictionary, um, the killing of uh, girls, women, ladies, because of their gender. So usually, in most cases, done by their male counterparts. Usually, people they know. Mexico, it seems about 40% of the people, 40% of the victims of femicide, the women victims of femicide are female. Are sorry, know who their attacker is. 40% know who their attacker is. All victims of femicide are women. So yeah, so I was just I guess I was just on Twitter last night, and I was just reading through scrolling through my feed, and I saw a tweet um just about the situation. Like uh, I just wanted to see what was going on, so I went through this girl's Twitter, and it was just a feed of like the things that are happening um, in Mexico due to the, I guess, the pandemic keeping people inside. Not that that's an excuse, but that's what's happening. Is that I guess people are confined, and it's causing these psychopaths to commit these atrocities against women, which I know, like, obviously in the United States and anywhere else around the world, but United States, that's where we live, or at least that's where I live. There's obviously a lot of like misogyny against women, women of color, minority women as well, but just women in general. Like the misogyny that they have to go through, the patriarchal society that we live in, has definitely been oppressive towards women, and obviously it's caused like a lot of animosity, and it seems to be the reason as to like some men committing like crimes against women or using their power in a patriarchal society to oppress women. Um, and you see this in all facets of in all different places around the world. It's a sad thing to see, and it's something that needs to be changed. But as of right now, it's currently not a great situation, and we as society need to do a better job of making sure that we can ameliorate this problem and make it a better circumstance for all. Because feminism, the core of feminism is just to obtain equality for all. Like, yeah, in any movement, there's going to be people who take it over the top. But if you look at it, 99% of feminists, all they want is just for women to be equal in society and have the same opportunities that their male counterparts have. So by living in this patriarchal society and not acknowledging that we've been oppressing women for centuries, we aren't granting them the opportunities and the respect they deserve. But I want to talk specifically about the situation that's going on in Mexico. So in Mexico, there's been an increase in femicide cases since coronavirus started. So there's been about 267 women that were murdered in April, and since then there's been an average of 300 women murdered per month. In 2018, it was only about seven. Well, I say only seven. It shouldn't be any at all, but it was seven women who were murdered per day, were victims of femicide. And now, currently, with the pandemic and people being close, it's risen to levels of about 10 women per day, which is just atrocious and disgusting to hear. So in response to that, there's been an elevated amount of police calls and emergency calls. Um, Around 26,000. I have the number here. 26,000 calls um, have been made um, just just in the past month. And the President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, so we can just say President Obrador, has said that 90% of these claims are fake. See, he's saying that 90% of these claims are fake because what happens is a neighbor or a passerby or a stranger will hear or see something and report it. So they'll call on the phone and be like, "Oh, I think something's going on here. You should come check it out." And what happens most of the time, 90% of the time, is that the cases go incomplete or authorities show up and no further action is really taken to like file the report, make sure it goes through. So he makes it seem like, oh, 90% are false, but that's not actually the case. What is the case is that women, the people who will make the call, the authorities won't show up, which is atrocious to see the impunity that they have. Not showing up and completing the incident to completion is something that needs to be taken care of and is a different topic for a different day. But they need to make sure that they come, and then when they do come, they're not filing reports to say what occurred and what happened. So this number that he's getting at 90% is highly misleading to anyone seeing like, oh, 90% of these are fake. Like, why would they be making these fake calls? And it just goes to show you that like when the situation is something that's mostly affecting women, it seems to be not taken as doesn't take as high as a preference as it should be. So Figueroa Morales is part of Wendy Figueroa Morales is part of the Nation Network Seltzer, and she says his statement. She actually quoted and said that with his statements about these being fake and stuff, she said, "quote With his statements on gender violence, that this government has a macho and patriarchal vision which perpetrates impunity and violence against women, girls, and boys." So pretty much what she's trying to say there is the reason for him saying that is because of the patriarchal society in Mexico and the machoism in Mexico that turns a blind eye to anyone else who isn't male in power and just allows for women and children to really suffer at the hands of the society. And she even goes on to say how since this pandemic has started, domestic violence calls have risen by 77%, and the amount of people seeking shelter has risen by 50% because they want to get out of these dangerous situations. Because, like I said, 40% of the women who are victims of femicide are know their attacker. So, this has caused a lot of outrage within the Mexican community. There's been a lot of protests. There was a protest on International Women's Day in March. 80 to 120,000 women across Mexico City and Mexico in 19 states across Mexico went out in support of women and victims of femicide, and were looking for legislative change to make it a paramount issue to get legislative change that would make women feel more safe in Mexico, so they wouldn't feel like they won't have to feel that at any moment they could become a victim just simply because of the fact that they were born a woman. Um, the president he's taken some action in trying to get some of this resolved. The action he's taken isn't really what's necessary. So the first thing that he says is he's dismissed the scale of the problem. Really, he's blaming his. I guess he's more of a leftist. I don't really know too much about the Mexican president Obrador, but I guess he's more of a left-leaning guy. But he said that the neoliberal predecessors are the reason why the current situation of femicide is so rampant. But my question is, if you're the guy in charge right now, then you can obviously make the change that need to be made in order to make sure that this isn't a issue that's going on and impacting people in such negative ways. So I say BS on that, because you can't be the guy in charge and say, oh, the people who left me in charge are the reason this is happening. Like, you got to man up and take action. That's why people elect you to become their president. So he said that, and like I said, the Wendy Figueroa Morales has pretty much just bashed him, and other people have bashed him for his response. The other thing that he did was there's a count to 10 program, or count to 10 like ad campaign where like when a situation like this is occurring, where like there's a regress situation with like a male and a female in a situation like this, like you count to 10, like raise a white flag, and like he's just been bashed for it because like in situations like this, counting to 10 and raising the right flag isn't going to stop a guy from doing what he's already premeditated in his head that he wants to do to you, you know, as a woman. So he hasn't taken a stout approach in order to make sure that this problem is going to be rectified, and it's caused a lot of unrest in the community. And obviously, there's been a lot amounts of protests and demonstrations. Obviously, I mentioned the women's march in March, and also the what's continuing throughout the coronavirus pandemic. The last two things I want to say are one, there was two really gruesome murders that happened. One was with a 25-year-old woman who was like skinned alive and like killed by her alleged partner. And somehow these videos the police got leaked to the public, and they're gruesome. I haven't checked them out personally. Like I don't, like that's not something I feel like people should go out like looking to see, you know. But they leaked out, and like it's an unfortunate situation. But like just clear femicide, clear just killing her because of like she's a woman and like he had no motive for it. And then another one like you don't want to say one's worse than the other, but like a 7-year-old girl waiting for her mom to pick her up from school was kidnapped, tortured, sexually assaulted, I guess raped is the word, you know, and killed. And it's just crazy to think how there's monsters and just guys out there, males out there who just do not value a woman's life simply because of the fact that she's a woman, you know. It's crazy to think that this stuff goes on in 2020, you know, like we should be far past misogynistic and gender stereotypes. And here we are, still having people killed based off of something that they're born as, you know. It's a crazy situation, and it just goes to show how like a lot of people haven't caught up to the times, you know. Even in like America, like I don't know. I would say that the situation's slightly better here, but like I'm sure there's instances of guys just killing women just simply because they are a woman, you know, and just feeling like they should have them or like possess them, you know. Like even this one lady, if I can find it here, Kate Mann. If you have time to read this book, 2017 book called Down Girl: The Logic of Misogyny. She doesn't simply define femicide as like the killing because of a woman is a woman. She describes it as the policing of women's subordination in patriarchal societies. And what she cited was a 30-year-old woman was talking to her mother, I guess, on the phone and like texting her, and all of a sudden like she was texting her and their mom didn't get a text back. She texted the brother and like they freaked out and they sent out like alerted people like, oh, we don't know where our daughter is. And what turned out to happen was that the woman was just went to another party to go hang out with her friends and I guess meet up with some other lads. So people twisted and put the blame on her and were like, oh, look at her, like she's a liar, like she's trying to get attention. She lied about like being like kidnapped and stuff like that. And she was like, simply, I just turned my phone off. But she was going just like begging for forgiveness for like, oh, I didn't mean it in that way. Like I just turned my phone off to go with friends. And people were like, oh, you're trying to be like promiscuous and like say other things. Like pretty much the blame just went all on the woman for no reason, you know. She was just trying to go and have a good time, and her parents and her brother freaked out because like that's something I would do. I have 2 little sisters. I would freak out if like I'm contacting them, want to know where they are, and I don't know that they turned off their phone, and it just got turned on her. And that just goes to show how like Like if a guy did that, you wouldn't go ahead and blame the guy. You'd be like, okay, but when a woman does it, it's twisted and it makes them to blame, and that's the reason. The reason that is because of the society that we live in. You know, when it's always set to the standard that like men are like the upper echelon and like women are at a lower tier, um it becomes that way where women will get blamed even for something that's not their fault, and men will get the benefit of the doubt. Like even as a guy, you have to realize that sometimes in those kind of situations, like you have that privilege and you have to recognize it. And it's sad because you want everyone to be equal and just have a way of life where they don't have to be in fear for their life. And the current situation in Mexico is just disheartening to hear. Um, I'm gonna link in the I'm gonna link below in the description a just a woman who got like sex trafficked, like a what's it called? It's a inside the horrors of human trafficking in Mexico. It's a BBC YouTube like virtual reality video where like you spend 6 minutes like going through like what this woman had to face, and like you hear her talk and things like that. It's sad to see. Like it's tough knowing that things like this continue to go on in the world, in my country, and around the world, just because like it shouldn't be happening. People should be able to feel safe and not scared anytime they walk out alone at night, anytime they want to go do something alone or just walk and just go for a run, you know. And women are feel that way, and they feel like they need to be always looking behind their back, and it's just not right. So all I gotta say is just like we gotta do better society, especially men. We just gotta do better to make it more equal. You know, make women feel more safe in society. Because if women feel safe in society, it's just gonna make it better for everyone else. You know, it's gonna make it better for them, of course. It's gonna make it better for us. You know. But we got to do a better job of realizing the privilege that we have, and helping women get to that same privilege that we have, where they can feel like they can do things and not be burdened because and they're a woman, you know, like they shouldn't feel like, oh, because I'm a woman I can't go do X. And that's got to change by men working with women and how they feel, understanding how they feel, and making those changes, especially with legislation. But this video's gone on a little bit longer than I wanted to. But for anyone watching, thank you. And like I said, I hope we can do better to ameliorate this problem for women. And if you want to go see this video, go see this video that I watched. I'll link in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.